What's going on, crypto traders and investors? It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hope you had a great weekend. It's May 25th, and in this video, we're going to do another rapid fire news update, this time for the period May 17th to the 23rd. And again, it's not a deep dive detail or anything. It's just a high level overview in case you missed it. Before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. I also do these videos each and every week, so you'll be notified whenever I post these videos as well. You can also follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Just in, USDC issuer Circle in informal talks to sell itself to Coinbase or Ripple, says Fortune. And there's sort of a bidding war going on at the moment. There's some speculation that maybe Coinbase is joining the fray so that it can up the ante for Ripple. So essentially Coinbase being buddy-buddy with Circle so that Ripple bids more money and actually ends up paying more money. But personally, I think it makes more sense for Ripple to acquire them. Rand Neuner, the clown, said we should all hope that Coinbase acquires Circle. We should all hope that Rand Neuner just stops posting. And yeah, I would really appreciate it if you could just shut your face hole. Circle launched a stablecoin-powered cross-border payments network. So again, it would stand to reason to me why Ripple would just make the most sense, right? We know that they are all about, making XRP and revolutionizing the cross-border payments system, which is very antiquated. Also, top U.S. banks consider joint stablecoin to counter cryptocurrency competition, Wall Street Journal. So again, first they laugh at you, then they ignore you, then they fight you, then you win. And, imitation is the highest form of flattery. At the end of the day, people aren't going to trust these big top U.S. these banks, right? We all know that the banks run the world, and, look at, there's some information coming a little bit later with regards to JP Morgan, and the sliminess of these bankers is just something to behold. Also, cryptocurrency history has been made. We're still kind of getting across the finish line, but the big first step towards passing the Genius Act it has been completed. It's now going to move to a debate and amendment process on the Senate floor, and then we should see the final passage vote before Memorial Day next Monday. But then it's more than likely going to be at some point in June where it gets officially signed into law. I think June and July are going to be explosive months. But if we can get this Genius Act across the finish line, there's also talk about adding MJ banking to it. I posted a video of that as well. So they might want to do some amendments to get that in there. But yeah, overall, I think this is a huge win for the industry. And just like the Telecommunications Act in 1996, that's what set, the internet on fire, right? And the tech boom. And then look what happened after legislation. So I think we're going to see a massive run-up after we get legislation. And there's a market structure bill that could potentially pass before August recess as well. And then, there'll be a huge run-up, and then more than likely another bear market. And then we'll see what this industry can really do after we get legislation, clear rules of the road in the biggest economy and capital market in the world, the United States. Also, Deutsche Bank says 5 key takeaways from the Genius Act. Real quick, we'll just go through them here. Stablecoin legislation cements USD supremacy. I've been saying that for many years. You have to think, how many people around the world want to own US dollars and don't have access to a traditional bank account? There's around 2 billion people in the world that are underbanked or unbanked, but they have cell phones. So if you can just download a crypto wallet, which is free on your cell phone, as long as you have internet, and then buy a stablecoin that's pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar, they have to own T-bills, you're effectively buying a US dollar, and it's going to increase the demand and the liquidity and just overall demand for US dollars, right? It's going to make it stronger. And then all these other big fiat currencies around the world as well. Even Chris Larson from the co-founder of Ripple alluded to that many years ago. But yeah, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Big tech stablecoin ambitions are curtailed. So essentially it will block big tech giants like Meta, and we know that Meta tried to launch its own stablecoin, so that makes sense, like Libra. So it makes a lot of whole sense to me. Like why give them even more power? Tether's ambitions are also checked, so foreign issuers, particularly Tether, will now face tighter oversight. That just makes sense. And no yield-bearing stablecoins yet, but the market is growing. Political conflicts of interest could cloud the legislative push. There's been some controversy around World Liberty Financials. That's, Trump's company. Who cares? At the end of the day, anybody should be able to do whatever they want as long as they comply with the law. So as long as he can comply with whatever law they set forth, then that's the whole point of legislation, is creating laws and then abiding by them, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. If somebody wants to start a bank, let them start a bank. As long as they comply with, KYC and AML laws, all that good stuff, then in my opinion, anybody should be able to do whatever they want. Just in, Robinhood files SEC proposal to regulate tokenized real-world assets, aiming to bring Wall Street on-chain and tap into a $30 trillion market. Folks, it's hard to overstate how big this market is going to be. And, this is an MJ-centric channel, but, when it comes to MJ, the plant, we're going to be lucky to get to 1 trillion, in the next 10 years or 20 years, right, in terms of total addressable market. Crypto is already at almost 4 trillion and is going to grow to 50 to 100 trillion with ease. So we're literally talking about 100x, bigger market. Also, just in, Kraken to offer tokenized US stocks to users worldwide. I've been saying this for a while now, folks. The US stock market, BlackRock, Larry Fink has been advocating for this as well, tokenizing stocks and bonds. It's going to happen a lot sooner than people think. It's already happening. You're going to see all US stocks tokenized, and it's going to be no more opening and closing bell. It's going to be 24/7, 365 trading, just like crypto. And moreover here, the 24/7 trading for tokenized US stocks is going to be done via Solana, and they said X stocks will democratize access to US equities and make them tradable 24/7 through the platform and compatible Solana wallets. And they're going to be names such as Apple, Tesla, Nvidia. Now you have to, and this is going to be for select countries outside the US, you have to keep this in mind, folks. When you see stuff like this, it never happens when these companies are trading at 52-week lows, right? It's always all-time highs or 52-week highs or after a massive move. So in my opinion, this is bullish, but it's bearish at the same time, because it's probably going to create that final blow-off top moment. We've been in really a bull market ever since 2020, just absolute face melting. We've never seen this kind of return on the S&P 500 ever. It's usually gets like 12%, 14% a year annual average return. And from like 2020 to 2021, it was up like over 100%. So what goes up must come down. And in my opinion, this is that final blow off top catalyst that's going to see prices absolutely skyrocket. And then we're going to see more than likely a massive bear market that could span multiple years, in my opinion. And they're going to use retail investors as exit liquidity. They're going to open up, they're going to democratize it. They're going to make it so that anybody, every average regular Joe and Jane can buy it. And like I said, they'll pawn off their expensive shares onto retail, and you'll be able to buy, 0.001 share of Tesla, right? And you'll be able to buy like $2 worth of it or $5, whatever you want. Bybit is also set to offer direct stock trading with dollar pegged stablecoin USDT. And my daughter's crying in the background. I think she's hungry and mama's getting food ready for her. So hopefully it's not too distracting. It's definitely distracting for me, but hopefully not for you. R3 and Solana joined forces to tokenize traditional finance. So enterprise blockchain firm R3 has announced a strategic collaboration with the Solana Foundation. So as you can see, tokenization is coming to all assets and all value, really. And then the SEC postponed their decisions on CoinShares Spot XRP ETF. That wasn't the only one. They also delayed decision on Solana ETFs and Dogecoin. So in my opinion, what they're doing is they're just kicking the can down the road. And what I think is more than likely going to happen, as soon as Bitcoin dominance starts to fall off a cliff, we're going to see alts outperform, which could happen even next month in June. But I think, really going to kick into high gear into July. But what I think is going to happen is they're going to approve multiple ETFs. Like, I think XRP, I think they're going to approve like probably a dozen all at once. And then I think right back to back, you're going to see XRP ETF go live, spot ETF, right? Not futures-based spot one where they actually have to hold the asset. XRP, when people buy, when money comes in, inflows come in, they actually have to own the underlying asset, which is going to prop up the price even more. You're going to see Solana, Dogecoin, Litecoin, you're going to see Tron ETFs, and that's going to be the big marker for alt season. Also, the Ripple case with the SEC coming to a conclusion very soon, and then we could even see Ripple announce an IPO announcement at some point in 2025, and then potentially in 2026 they actually IPO. There's so many things, folks. Crypto legislation coming. We have all the right catalysts coming up ahead of us for the perfect storm and alt season. Also, XRP futures launch on CME. Can it fuel XRP crypto price breakout? Absolutely it can, in my opinion. And you've seen XRP, the Ethereum futures-based one, it's been setting records. Bitcoin was the fastest to $1 billion in assets for an ETF ever. And in my opinion, XRP is going to be similar. But yeah, futures are usually that prerequisite. And then usually we see not too long after the spot ETFs get approved. So I think, there's a good chance that it could happen in June. And a lot of these decisions have been delayed until June. They ultimately have until October, I believe, is the deadline. But I'm very confident that I'm thinking it's very, very likely that we're going to see them all approved. And like I said, we could even see multiple altcoin ETFs get approved here next month to really catapult alt season into full force. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy hit with class action lawsuit. So the class action accuses Michael Saylor's strategy of misleading investors on Bitcoin, violating securities laws. I don't think he's too worried about it. He kind of looks worried in that picture, but no, I don't think he would be too worried about it. And yeah, he did tweet, I think it was, I think he sent it on X, that he only buys Bitcoin with money he can afford to lose. And he's got like $60 billion worth. It's kind of stupid to say that. Like, obviously, he's probably just trolling, but why would he? You're borrowing money. Obviously, that's money you can't afford to lose. And just selling stock. It's either going to be really, really bad or really, really, really good. He's either going to be the richest man in the world, or he's going to be, he's going to be eating Lunchables for the rest of his life. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says banks will allow clients to buy Bitcoin, finally. After in 2014, they said if anybody was caught, any of their employees were caught selling any crypto or promoting crypto, they would be fired. And then months later, it was proven that JP Morgan was one of the biggest buyers of Bitcoin, right? It's called talking your book. Now that they're positioned, they'll let people buy Bitcoin. And of course, Bitcoin's at all-time highs. It's never at 52-week lows or all-time lows, or after a big bear market, it's always at the top, right? Also, Coinbase disclosed that, and I mentioned this in my last video, that they had over 69,000 users affected by the insider-linked data leak. So the company said last week that the incident affected less than 1% of its monthly transacting users. So not a huge amount of users, but still a decent chunk. Never like to see that. Yeah, they didn't give in to the ransom. And the customer data theft is now being investigated by the Justice Department, as reported by Bloomberg. So we'll see what happens there. Also, just in, more Americans now own Bitcoin than they do gold. 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, and 37 million comparatively Americans own gold. So that just makes sense in my opinion. It's democratizing it, right? It's very difficult to buy gold, and it's getting easier and easier, obviously, but as technology advances. But Bitcoin is super easy now with ETFs as well. I'm not sure if that's factoring in ETFs. It must be. I would think so. Also, Texas passes SB 21 to become the third state to seek governor's approval for Bitcoin investment. So Texas, the 8th largest economy in the world, has passed the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and Investment Act, known as SB 21, allowing the state to invest in Bitcoin. So we just need governor sign off there, and they can join New Hampshire and Arizona. Brave becomes the first major web browser to introduce its own on-chain domain. That's the browser that I'm using at the moment. If you haven't used Brave browser, it's absolutely amazing. It's the same creator as Firefox, Mozilla. So if you haven't checked out Brave, I highly encourage checking it out. It's by far my favorite browser. Also, SEC charges Uniccoin over $100 million crypto fraud scheme. So this is what we want to see. More of this, folks. Going after the bad actors, not going after the good actors like Ripple, that is a private company and issues quarterly market reports for transparency reasons, right? They don't have to do that. They're a private company. And they were sued. There wasn't even any fraud. And they were sued like billions of dollars. Come on. Focus on the actual bad actors like this. And it's nice to see that the SEC is really cracking down on this. This is what they're supposed to be there for, is cracking down on the fraud and all these illegal activities. And yeah, just leave the good actors alone, create clear rules of the road, and focus your time and energy on the ones that are actually committing crimes and fraud. Bitcoin price today hits record high, and this was on the 22nd of May. But yeah, Bitcoin hit a new record high, and yeah, I've been saying for a while now that I think 120 to 140, 120,000, 140,000 on Bitcoin makes the most sense. I think it's the most likely scenario, and could it go higher than that this cycle? It could, but here we are. We just hit on Bitcoin. What was the actual top here? Just scroll out. I think it was 112. Yeah, just under. Yeah. 112,000. So we're only 8,000 away from my target of 120 minimum as my base case. So yeah, we're not far away at all. And I do think that we could see one more final push higher right after this crypto legislation gets passed in the US. I think, 120 is an absolute slam dunk layup, and then whatever you want to call it, and then potential for 140. And then after that, I think we're going to see Bitcoin dominance drop off a cliff. And then I think you're going to see the biggest alt season you've ever seen. You might want to hold on to your face because it may be ripped off. DMG Blockchain Solutions also reported their second quarter 2025 results. They have revenue of 12.6 million in Q2, so still a relatively small company, but yeah, they're growing nonetheless. 91 Bitcoin mined in Q2 2025. That's not a stock that I own, but something that I follow. And yeah, obviously Hive and Riot Blockchain are the big ones, but DMG's right up there as well. Also, Bitcoin overtakes Amazon as the 5th largest asset, hitting 2.16 trillion market cap. But I thought this crypto stuff wasn't valuable, right? Oh man, just wait till you see what's coming, folks. We don't even have clear rules of the road, and we don't have legislation and regulation in the US yet, and it's already overtaking Amazon. Absolutely insane. Also, the SEC clarifies proof of stake regulations excludes staking from securities laws. So really starting to see clear rules of the road, right? Under the old previous SEC regime, everything was clear, right? But now the new SEC chairman and, the old one's out, Gary Clown Gensler, and then, here we go. the new regime is saying, hey, it's not clear. So, no, we weren't all crazy. And yes, Gary Gensler was a clown and still is a clown and will always be a clown. He will die a clown. He was born and will die a clown. Musk still bullish on Bitcoin as Tesla's BTC holdings rise. So they're valued at more than 1.25 billion. And that's based on data from Arkham. And they own 11,509 Bitcoin. Definitely no Michael Saylor, but it's a no small chunk of change. Also, Dubai picks XRP ledger for real estate tokenization as 3,000 investors register. Folks, the writing is on the wall. You're going to see this is just one use case. And we're talking about real estate, folks. What is it, like hundreds? I think it's like a couple hundred trillion or something like that in terms of global real estate. Like, this is massive. And then you look at the derivatives and the DTCC and cross-border payments, and folks, like, it's hard to really stocks and tokenizing stocks and bonds. Like, it's really hard to, like, I don't think any of us really understand how big this is going to be. I think it's like trying to wrap your head around, like quadrillion dollars, right? Like hundreds of trillions of dollars. Like, it sounds like it makes sense, but if you really think about how big that number is, it's really hard to fathom. And then if you take all of the world's value and combine it, it's insane. And like I said, I can't overstate how big this industry is going to get. And this reminded me of Lofty. This isn't sponsored or anything by Lofty. I just wanted to share this with you because Jatinder, one of our POW Group private members, shared this with me. I was actually doing a coaching session and we went through this, and it's super cool. It's like the NASDAQ for real estate. There's like Propy, putting like deeds and whatnot on the blockchain. But this is awesome. I was looking at this. You can start investing in Lofty. Essentially, you can transfer your deed to your home to them, and you can sell off like parts of your home. You can automatically receive rental income. So there's some that are long-term rentals, they're like short-term rentals, like Airbnb. And I was looking at it, and here's some of their homes, right? So you can see the annual return. You can buy like shares of it, essentially. So you can buy it for like as little as like $40 or $50. And, they have this with art now, or, you might have an art piece that's worth like $100 million or something like that, and you can buy like $20 worth of it. They just divide it into shares. But you can buy and sell real estate effortlessly as trading a share of Tesla, diversify across 150 properties in 40 markets, starting with just $50, and sell with instant liquidity anytime. So I was looking at some of the properties. And there was this one guy who had his home on there, and he said he was going to retain 10% ownership in the house for forever. There was like, I think maybe $500,000 left owing on the mortgage, on the loan. And you could buy shares of it for like $46. And it's a Airbnb property. So, you know, and you can see all their P&L statements. You can see all of their operating expenses and everything. And you can see they're listing directly on Airbnb. Like, it's so cool. You know what? I'll just play the video here real quick.
For diversification. Real estate investing is great for diversification. It's a reliable source of income, and you also benefit from property value appreciation. But it's inaccessible for many people. Large down payments, months-long transaction times, no liquidity. It can feel overwhelming. Thankfully, Lofty is knocking down those barriers. Now you can diversify your portfolio by investing in real estate for as little as $50 and sell whenever you'd like. Properties are divided into fractions called property tokens that can be traded anytime. Investors vote on property decisions. Then a third-party property manager handles the results, tenant management, and property upkeep. You benefit from property appreciation. Plus, you get daily rental income, which you can cash out whenever you like. Stock and crypto markets can swing wildly. Lofty makes it easy to diversify into a safe, reliable, high-yield asset class. Start building generational wealth. Get started at lofty.ai today.
Yeah, so you can check it out. It's lofty.ai, and it's built on the Algorand blockchain. So they utilize Algorand, and I own that in my portfolio, full disclosure. Not telling you to buy, sell, or hold or anything like that, not financial advice. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, this is a private company, not yet public, utilizing Algorand to make this all happen with the blockchain. But super cool, right? It's immutable and impenetrable. But yeah, super cool. You can list your home, right? If we just take a look at some of these properties, some of them are just, this is the one here I was looking at yesterday. And like I said, you can go down, you can see like all the pictures. This one sleeps 21, like it's crazy. Price per token, like I said, starting price $50. There you go. The vacation rental, you got Tristan Huerta. There's the Airbnb listing, and you can scroll down. You can see everything. Like I said, the profit loss. You can see the operating reserve balance, view property transaction data. You can view the insurance policy, property management agreement, some information about the listing and the hosts. And then you can scroll down. You can see all the deed, the title report, appraisal. Like, it's so freaking cool. Like, this is where the world's heading, folks. You can view the listing directly on Airbnb as well. So not only that, you're like promoting, it's like marketing your property as well. So yeah, very, very cool project. Yeah, check it out if you're interested. And like I said, you can actually transfer your own property there if that's something that you're interested in doing. And it's just going to democratize it, right? It's going to make it easier for people to get in, not have to pay, a huge down payment like they said. But imagine being able to tokenize like a huge arena, like a baseball stadium or a football stadium or an NHL arena or something like that, right? And you can have, millions and millions of owners of that same asset. So that's the world that we're heading into, folks. It's an exciting time, but yeah, very, very cool. All right, going into it there, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this news in the comment section. We'll continue the conversation there. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one.